This brief video was intended to show some of the powers of woodCAD CAM and its ability to not only generate casework custom cabinetry but also millwork. This particular application will be the creation of a completely custom Diewall from absolute scratch, and so hopefully you'll enjoy what you're seeing here. We'll begin by working with the object designer and telling it that we want to create a new kind of an article. There's a lot of things that are possible to be done within it, and so this is just an example. Possibly you don't construct Diewalls in the same exact way, and I think that you'll see that you have free-form ability to create literally whatever it is that you want. I'll begin with creating a side view segment in this case, and so all I'm doing is giving what will end up being an extruded panel a particular distance that we want to work, and in this case I'm going to tell it that I want to go at 34 inches. I can continue, make continuous lines in this. For example, if I said I wanted to come in at a couple of inches and up, for example, 1.5 inches and back over a couple of inches, you'll notice that it would give me nice miters. In that kind of an application, I'll go up at 10, but there might be other times where I want to invoke the command again, and I can work from the left or right side of the line to be able to create butt joints where that would be appropriate as well. And so we will, in this case, create the command again, and again we'll move from one side of the line to the other, however it is that you might want. So what I was thinking originally on the non-customer side, I wanted an area for a countertop recess to be able to go into it, and so now I want to make sure that we're working well with the product and see some flexibility. Let's assume that we've got a Diewall that's going to have some kind of embedded aluminum extrusion in it, and so I'm going to tell this that we want to come down to 18 in this particular case, and again I'll use 2 inches in, and let's say that we're going to go 5 down, 2 back out, and so now we're going to come down to a point to where we're also going to want to have some kind of a toe kick in this particular case. And so I'm going to tell this that at 15 inches we want to make a move across. And again, I'm going to want to create, in this particular case, a butt joint application for this so I can adjust on which side of the lines that we want to go. And we'll set that at 4 in that, and of course kick up the segment again. And we're going to want to take this down to the appropriate distance that we have. One of the things that you can find too is that because it's AutoCAD, it's very possible to utilize any of the tools within inside of it, and so you can pull measurements or do anything that would be appropriate. I set the top plate above, and so in this kind of case I'm going to go ahead and tell this segment that I also want it to go below it, and so now we'll set that to the outside. So really the only thing that I'm doing is creating the panels that are going to be extruded along any kind of a shape. In this particular case, I'm going to use a AutoCAD command called boundary, and I'm just going to pick inside of this to generate a polyline. Otherwise I could have easily just traced around any of these that I want to work with. And in this case I do actually want to do that. I'm going to isolate a couple of elements here so that we can see the polyline in that, and finally I'll isolate down to just the polyline, and you'll understand why. We have the parts and pieces that are going to be extruded, but in this case I might want to work with, for example, giving a little bit of slop. So I could in this say that, hey, because of my cutting I want to actually have this go further back in. Think about the radius of a router bed or something like that. So I want this to be a 1/2 inch deeper, so it's going to make sure that the square parts fit on it. As a matter of fact, while I'm working with this, I might have other things that I'd want to deal with, like for example for wire management. Maybe I want to make maybe I want to be able to take and say, hey, I want a line to go across the stud that is going to be, you know, this height by, you know, 8 inches and back out. I could use the trim features to be able to work with this. And now again we'll p-edit the polyline and tell this to join, so that now we have one single object here as a polyline that we'll use. we can decide that we want to turn this other stuff back on, and so you'll see how I was able to work with a custom shaped Diewall to create what we're wanting. Now let's consider what we might actually want for the shape of our object, our Diewall. And so I'm going to tell this that I want to move, for example, at 80 inches for the first segment of this, and let's come down at something like 78. And just for the sake of doing something, blending on radiuses, that kind of stuff, I'll tell this that we want to specify a arc location. And so now I want this guy to finish out and do something of this kind of nature. So what could we do? Well, first of all, we need to tell it how we want to be able to have our studs spaced and that kind of stuff. And so what I'll actually do is tell this that I want to make, in this case, a side view segment. And so from this, of course, we could work right or left of the line as well. And I'm going to tell this that I want this to be at about 8 inches, and we're good with that. Now I want to move the segment, just using AutoCAD, the move command, in this case 3/4 of an inch, because of the, if we think about being from the side of it, I need to overcome this panel as we're working across. I'll use the array command in this particular case to say I want to array this object, and I think I hit a button. And I want to array this object, and I want it to tell it that I want it to follow a path, so I can just now select that, and you'll see that now we've arrayed it around. I can use the gripper on this just to be able to enter in a dimension like 16 inches on center, those kind of things. I have the ability to copy these objects, to move, stretch them, do whatever I want. I'm going to explode them so I can work with them individually. There might be times that we just want to do, for example, a copy where we would double up studs, or we want to add additional studs. I think for the purpose of this demonstration, probably most people watching understand how to use AutoCAD to use a copy function or move function or whatever. So now what is it that we can do? Well, I know that I turned that off and back on one more time a while ago, but I just want to hide this plate so I've got easy access to this polyline, for example. And what I'm going to do is tell it that I want to make parts from these two views. So I'm going to select now my top view segments, which will end up being the stud locations. And so I just selected those, and so now it's telling me that I'm going to create all of those stud parts, and so those are being made as we're looking. If we quickly flip to a southwest view, we'd see that we're starting to get this kind of a skeleton working in it. I'm going to turn back on, in this case, the other segment we had for the top plate here, and what we're going to say is we want to make a parts from two views, and this time we'll select the polyline for this, and so now we're going to make all of these side view segments, and we want to come in and pick an insertion point for where this will be placed so that our studs and plates and everything are matching up perfectly as we're creating the wall. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and look at this in a southwest view. We'll see that we have made all the parts and pieces and all those kind of things. By the way, completely manufacturing ready. I could cut list this, I can nest this, I can make G-code for it. Anything that we want to do at this point is here and ready to go. One thing that other products that have attempted to do this kind of functionality but failed in the real world of manufacturing have had to deal with is the joining, especially where there's multiple sections of a Diewall put together. For example, if I demonstrated to you by, I just want to isolate some elements so that I'm going to show you a couple of tops that are now mitered together. We'll go ahead and tell this that we want to get it down to just these two parts that we're working with. You'll notice in this particular example that these parts were actually mitered right at the corner, and unfortunately that's just not an appropriate location in most cases to be able to break a Diewall, and understanding that I'm able to control each and every part within this. What I'm going to do is say that I want to select a couple of parts, and I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to click the button for join, and so now this became just one part. I'll flip up in a top view, and in this particular case I'm going to use a command such as polyline, literally just to draw a straight line or any kind of shaped line that you might want, where I've offset where I actually want this to be cut. And so in this case, again, I can now say I want to select and invoke this part. And so what could I do? I'm going to come down to cutting principles, and I'm going to tell it that I need it to be divided with this polyline. And so that is being done for me as well. So now we'll see with the commands of this, and of course we can change the cutting principles in a lot of different ways. What we now have is two separate parts, if you see this. So they are different parts, one from another, still active, but in a different kind of a way. And well, that's just a small example of some of the controls that you have in being able to make custom die walls, that kind of stuff within woodCAD CAM. I think it is definitely something that's powerful. In that case, we might even want to copy and have additional studs on both sides of this, or break the bottom plates at different locations. But anyway, it works out super to do, powerful program. Just for those not used to seeing wireframe kind of stuff, we'll flip this into kind of a conceptual looks and feel for it. So what you'll notice if we look across this, here's some spacing I set for wire management into this. We gave some additional slop on the back side of this so that we were able to make sure that when we were routing that was going to function good. We built into this an area for potentially an aluminum extrusion. By the way, we can also do those things in woodCAD CAM, and you'll see from here the front end of, or the front side, the customer side of the center, so it works out exceptionally well. I hope that you enjoyed this brief video featuring just one of the vast number of great features of woodCAD CAM.